InDesign can place a variety of file formats including tiffs, jpegs, and even PNGs, but where this package really stands out is in its ability to import native PSDs and Illustrator files. Therefore, the preferred method will always be to bring in native files whenever possible. But regardless of the file type you use, let's take a minute to break down the actual importing process. There are three ways to import a graphic or image. The first method is to use the place command by either going under the File menu or using the keyboard shortcut Command or Control D. You then go about your usual business of browsing for the image, selecting it, and placing it like so. The second method is to use the Properties panel and click on Import File, at which point you get the exact same results that you did by using the place command. Finally, you can simply drag and drop the image from your desktop, Finder, or Explorer window. Now notice that as I hover over the page, InDesign will show me when it finds an image frame by displaying a small parenthesis next to the cursor. If I move away from the frame, it'll go back to displaying the usual corner-shaped icon. Also, note that I'm not dependent on a pre-existing frame, as I can go ahead and draw a box and place the image anytime I want. But the preferred method is to draw your frames first and then place the images inside. So that's what I'll do here. That said, I'm noticing that the image I placed is way too big, so I'm going to make some changes. When I hover over the image, I notice a donut-shaped widget that suddenly appears. And if I click on it, I'm able to select the image itself and not the frame. I'm going to zoom out using the Command- shortcut, and now I can see just how huge this image is. Notice too that the frame around the image has turned to brown instead of the usual blue. I now see that the corner handles are exposed, and in the More Options of the Properties panel, I'll find a field where I can actually dial in the scale percentage of the image. So, for instance, if I change this to 60%, making sure that the link button is selected and the reference point is set to center, I can reduce its physical dimensions by 40%. And if I select the frame itself, now displaying the blue border again, I can see that the scale is back to 100%, although the image has not changed. And what this demonstrates is that there are two different objects at work here. On the one hand, we have the frame which I have selected, and on the other, we have the image object inside the frame, which is showing a 60% scale size. Now that that's settled, I'm going to go back and undo the scaling I did and show you that an easier way is to grab the corner handles of the image object and while holding the Shift key, begin to scale to taste, right? Furthermore, if I click and hold the control handle for a few seconds, I see a preview of the image as I scale it. By the way, this is called the patient mode because you do have to be patient for the preview to appear, but I digress. On the other hand, if I were to select the image frame, that's the blue frame, and I repeated the previous steps, I would notice what you now see on screen. That while the frame resizes, the image stays the same. This is the equivalent of cropping an image in Photoshop. Finally, I'm going to undo a few times to show you a third way of handling fitting the image within the frame. It so happens that there are a set of commands called fitting options that can be found in the Properties panel among other places. The small icon next to each option tells you what's about to happen. The one I use the most is this one, Fill Frame Proportionally. And I should tell you, this command does not disappoint. A brand new option available in InDesign 2019 is the Content-Aware Fit, where InDesign uses Adobe Sensei technology to analyze the contents of the image and crop it in a way that shows the best part of the image. You can even set this as the default placing behavior by opening the Preferences panel and turning on Content-Aware Fit under General Options. Lastly, if you turn on Auto Fit, you will be able to resize both frame and contents at the same time. Can you believe it? Well, while this may seem like a lot of information, it's really quite simple. Usually, my workflow is to place an image, use the appropriate fitting command, and move it in place as needed. As a matter of fact, you can even right-click on the image and find the fitting commands right then and there. this is a much more convenient way of working. As you can see, the place command allows you to combine both text and images to create stunning artwork.